Hi, my name is Tiana Karamayas and I'm a Cavoodle puppy coach and breeder for Oodle Way and River City Puppies. As a coach, my philosophy is simple. A Cavoodle should always complement your lifestyle, not complicate it. And this is the foundation to everything I teach. For almost the past decade, I have been working in the breeding, training, grooming, and veterinary sectors of the small animal industry. I've also been raising Cavoodles for the past 16 years, so I have definitely learned a thing or two about the breed along the way. Now this podcast is all about Cavoodles. Raising Cavoodles, training Cavoodles, grooming Cavoodles, breeding Cavoodles, and how to shape the behaviour of a Cavoodle puppy. So, if you're a Cavoodle parent or you are looking at adding a Cavoodle to your family soon, then this podcast is for you. New episodes will be released each Tuesday morning, and you can follow me across all social media under the name @OodleWay for more tips and advice on Cavoodles. Thanks for tuning in. Hello and welcome back to episode 45 of the Cavoodle Coach podcast. My name is Tiana Karamayas and I'm your host, and today we are going to be talking about some tips that I have if you are considering bringing a second dog into the family. So what we can do to make sure that the entire transition is really seamless, making sure neither dogs feel jealous, neither dogs feel like they have to compete against each other, and just making sure the whole experience is as joyful and positive as possible so that we can create a really nice bond between the two new dogs. So let's dive straight into it and let's just have a chat about what you can expect. So the first thing I'm going to say is when you are bringing a second dog into the family, the reaction of the existing dog is really going to depend a lot on their individual personality and their individual personality traits. And depending on your dog's personality traits is going to dictate how you should go about introducing the new puppy into the family. So, quite a while ago, and actually let me just go and check which number episode I did it on. Give me 1 second. Okay, so it was in episode 2. So in episode 2, what I did is I spoke about all of the individual personality traits that dogs have and the traits that they are born with that will not change versus the traits that they are born with that can be changed through some training. And so what I really recommend doing is pausing this episode, go back to episode 2 of the podcast and listen to that one just so you can start getting a bit of an idea of what personality traits a dog can have, and then try and have a look at your own existing dog and go, okay, what is their human motivation level? How focused are they on humans? What is their play level? What are they like in terms of play? How are they when they are alone? And have a look at the different personality traits of your dog so you can kind of get an idea on what to expect for their reaction over a new puppy. The reason why this is important is if you have a dog at home who is really driven by your attention, is really driven by getting that one-on-one training time, bonding time, adventurous time, play time, if they're really, really driven by that, and you find they're the type of dog who comes over to you quite often seeking your attention, what that is going to tell you is that when this new puppy comes home, we need to make sure that your existing dog still gets that one-on-one attention and that all of your attention doesn't just transfer over to the puppy. Because if all of your attention transfers over to the puppy, your older dog, your existing dog, is absolutely going to get a bit jealous. It can cause tension between the older dog and the younger dog, and dogs can absolutely get a little bit aggressive towards each other. Not to the point where they're going to harm each other, but it is very normal for older dogs to growl at the younger puppy, bark at the younger puppy, snap at the younger puppy, especially if the older dog is feeling a bit jealous of the puppy's attention that it's getting from you. So it's really important to have a look at your existing dog's personality traits and get an idea on what they really value from you, whether it's attention, whether it's playtime, whether they might be really independent and they might not be fazed by your attention, in which case the transition to a new puppy is going to be a lot easier, but not all dogs are like this. So it's a good idea to just have a good idea of what your dog's personality traits are, and you can find this out by listening to episode 2 on the podcast. Now, the second reason why it's really important to have a look at your older dog's personality is when it comes to getting a new puppy, if you haven't yet picked your puppy, it's a really good idea to make sure you have a look at your existing dog's personality traits. So the traits that are stable, the ones that will not change, then the ones that can be changed with training, and then look at the litter of puppies you are wanting to pick your dog from, and then working closely with the breeder to go, okay, my existing dog has these personality traits. I want a new puppy. Which puppy is going to seamlessly work into our family so that there is no jealousy, there's no tension, and they actually complement each other. So what you can't have in a household, especially when it comes to cavoodles, because cavoodles can be, they get the nickname Velcro dogs for a reason. They can be very, very, very driven by human attention to the point where they can have severe separation anxiety. And of course, if you follow my programs, we'll do training to prevent that when they're young. However, because they're a dog that can be so highly focused on your attention, if you had two dogs in the same household who both literally live their daily life with the sole purpose of pleasing you and just getting your attention, that is going to cause a lot of jealousy in the household. So instead, what you always want to do is you want to make sure that, okay, one puppy can be really highly driven by human attention, and then the other one isn't very highly driven by human attention. And that way there's not going to be any jealousy forming. So if you haven't picked the puppy yet, make sure you go and you work with a breeder who does have a curriculum program for their puppies. So a daily curriculum program to shape the dog's behavior, and that they also do temperament testing on the litter of puppies. And if you find a breeder who does temperament testing and has a curriculum program, this breeder really cares about their puppies, and they really want to make sure that the puppies go to the right homes for the puppy's personality. And when we do this, the breeder will be more than happy to talk to you about your existing dog and go, okay, let's cross out these puppies. They're not going to suit your family. Let's look at these 3 puppies instead. Tell me a little bit more about the lifestyle you want to see with your puppy. And then they'll help you narrow down and pick the right puppy for your family. And this, above absolutely everything else, is going to create the most seamless transition for the new puppy coming into the family when you have an existing dog. So this is my number one biggest tip. It doesn't matter obviously the training you do with your puppy when you bring them home and the way that we introduce them, it can make a difference. But if their personalities clash on just a basic level, that is going to cause ongoing issues for you. So my biggest tip when you're getting a new puppy is we have to work with the breeder to make sure we're getting the right personality to match your existing dog's personality. So that is the first tip, my first recommendation. The next thing I'm going to say is, depending on your puppy's, your existing dog's personality, it is very normal for there to be a little bit of standoffish behavior from the older dog at home, especially when the puppy first comes into the family. If your dog has been the only dog for a little while, maybe a few years, maybe your dog is very driven by your attention, maybe they don't really care about other dogs all that much. Whatever the situation is, it's very normal for there to be a bit of standoffish behavior. And so it can take a little while for your older dog to adjust to having another puppy in the family. And so during this time, it's really important that what we're doing, you know what, I'm going to pause. I feel like I'm jumping a little bit ahead. Let's deal with what you're going to do before you bring your puppy home, the prep you're going to do for your older dog. Then we'll deal with what to do when the puppy is at home to make sure that we start to create a really nice positive relationship between the puppy and the older dog. So let me just go back. I'm jumping all over the place. I'm sorry if that's a bit confusing, but let's go to before your puppy comes home, what we are doing to prep the house, prepping the older dog for the puppy's arrival. Okay, so puppies cry, and if you have an older dog, they haven't been around crying all that much. So the first thing we can do is I would start putting on YouTube, and I would YouTube puppies crying, and I would start playing that throughout the day randomly, puppies crying. And what we want to be doing is during this time, we want to direct our older dog onto their bed, onto their place, and we want to go, Sam, place. Sam goes onto his place, he lies down, there's crying in the background, Sam is relaxed. We reinforce this and we give Sam treats. So we want to start teaching Sam, as just a random name for the older dog, we want to teach Sam that when he hears this crying, this puppy crying, he's going to go over to his bed and he's going to relax. Rather than Sam hears the crying, he gets a bit stressed, he gets a bit anxious, he's looking around for it, and he doesn't know what to do. So we want to start shaping the behavior expectations of the older dog before the puppy even comes home. So when the older dog hears the crying, Sam, you go onto your bed and you can have a treat. That's one thing that's really good. Another thing that can be really good to help prep your current dog is to really just brush up on your older dog's training exercises. So sit, stay, leave it, wait. Brushing up on those is a really good idea, because if we have a new puppy, it becomes twice as hard to train a new puppy if at the same time you're trying to tell your older dog to go and sit and wait over there, and then the older dog doesn't do it. So really, you want to make sure that your older dog is perfectly trained, displays all the behavior you want them to display before you bring the new puppy home, because it's going to make the whole training of the new puppy a lot easier. So spend some time brushing up on their training, sit down, stay, leave it, wait, to make sure that you know that if you direct your older dog to do something, they're going to do it when you say. And that way, the older dog is also a really good role model for the new puppy. It's also, something else that can be really beneficial is you can, if the breeder is close by, you can grab like a blanket or a toy from the breeder that has the puppy's scent on it, and you can let your older dog have a sniff at it and reward them for the calm behavior before your puppy arrives. That can definitely help. It's not always possible depending on where you're getting your puppy from, but that can definitely help. The next thing we want to do though is we really want to make sure that we are setting up the house correctly for the older dog and the younger puppy. Now, when it comes to setting up the house for a young puppy, this is honestly one of the most important things you have to do as a family, because depending on how you set up the house is really going to dictate how your puppy goes with being left alone. It's going to dictate their toilet training and the speed in which you toilet train them. It's also going to really dictate for the older dog how the older dog is going to view the young puppy. So it's really important that we set up the house correctly in the correct space with the correct items inside, just so that we can make sure we're setting the new puppy up for success. And this is absolutely something that I 100% go through in my Cavoodle Puppy Planner program. There is an entire preparation module that goes through things like crate training, toilet training, setting up the house, separation anxiety prevention training, literally what to do with a new puppy and how to get the family ready. So I'm not going to go into detail with that. If you're getting a Cavoodle puppy, you can absolutely join the program. There is a link in the show notes, but that is really important, where we set up the house. And when we are setting up the house, we set up the house for the new puppy, but then we also need to make sure that there is a separate space, a separate, calm, welcoming, comfortable place for the older dog to go in, so that the older dog doesn't feel left out, so that the older dog doesn't feel stressed, so that the older dog has a place to escape to if the puppy starts biting their ears and pulling on their tail. So we really want to make sure we're setting up the house correctly and making sure we are just doing everything we can to make sure that neither puppies feel left out, jealous, stressed, anxious, annoyed by each other, or anything like that. Another tip that I have is, before you bring your new puppy home, I'm going to let you know it's going to feel a bit busy when the new puppy comes home, and even more so because you have another dog at home. So doing as much prep work as possible is really going to save the day. And some of the prep work that is most beneficial is just prepping a whole lot of enrichment for the new puppy and the older dog, and then putting it in the freezer. This is really going to save the day, because if you need to spend 10 minutes with a new puppy, you can give your older dog a nice frozen enrichment treat, and that way the older dog isn't going to feel left out, it's not going to feel jealous, and it's going to have a positive experience while you are having your attention on the younger puppy. So planning plenty of enrichment is going to be really, really good for both the puppy and the older dog. The last thing I'm going to say about preparing to bring your puppy home is that you really need to sit down as a family and you need to make a plan of attack so that both dogs do feel like they get your one-on-one attention from every family member. So planning is the only thing that's going to save you and make this transition really seamless. We have to have a plan. We have to have a very clear idea of what the daily routine is going to look like. So when you get up in the morning and you're doing XYZ with the puppy, What's happening with the older dog? What's the older dog doing? Or when the puppy is going for a nap, what are we doing with the older dog? How are we balancing this with work and the kids and, social activities? How are we balancing this all together? It's really important that we make a very, very detailed plan of attack, to the point where I would say sit down with your family, get out a piece of paper and start from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to bed and outline the entire day and go, okay, in the color green, we're going to put down everything the puppy needs. And in the color blue, we're going to put down everything the older dog needs. And who is going to be in charge of each activity with the puppy and the older dog? And how can we ensure that the older dog gets to continue their normal routine as it currently is when we bring the new puppy home? Because that's really important. When the new puppy comes home, we don't want the older dog to suddenly feel left out or have its whole world turned upside down. Instead, we want the older dog to have its routine continued the exact same as what it has been, with the added bonus of a puppy being there to play with when they want to, rather than the entire routine becomes the puppy and then the older dog is just put to the side and left to its own devices. We don't want to do that. We want the older dog to still have its normal routine. However, puppies do need a lot of training, a lot of enrichment, a lot of desensitizing, a lot of play, a lot of socializing. And so your whole day gets very busy with the puppy. And that's why it's really, really beneficial to sit down with your family members and just sort of delegate all of the daily activities and the tasks so that we can balance the existing routine of the older dog and the new routine of the young puppy. Now, if you're sitting there and you're going, oh, I have no idea what the routine needs to look like with the puppy, again, in my Cavoodle Puppy Planner program, I give you the routine. I give you the daily routines for the first 28 days with your new Cavoodle to make sure that we are properly socializing them, properly training them, increasing their confidence and decreasing their anxiety. So you can click the link in the show notes to join that program. You'll literally get the exact 28 days of daily schedules that I follow with my own Cavoodle puppies. And you can just print out those schedules for the 28 days. And then you can get a pen and you can then add in all of the daily routine, the daily activities you do with your older dog. And then you can delegate the task to make sure both dogs get everything they need to feel content, fulfilled, not left out, and not jealous of each other. Now, that's pretty much the main tips I have for the prep work to do before your new puppy comes home to meet the older dog. Let's move on to what we want to do once the new puppy comes home. So introducing them and making sure that we create a really nice bond between them so that they can exist in the same house and feel very fulfilled. So like I mentioned before, creating the two separate areas in their house for the older dog and the younger puppy is going to really help, because we're going to make sure that both dogs have an area they can retreat to if they're feeling overwhelmed, frustrated, tired, or just need some time to themselves. What I always like to say, and this is especially the case if you have, let's say you have a older dog who is older than 7. At 7 years old, your dog is considered a senior dog. So what you need to imagine having a senior citizen, a senior human, living their life, used to their own things, their own way, their own attention, like everything's all normal. And then suddenly you bring a baby into the mix and it's a toddler and it runs around and it bites them and it jumps on them and it's demanding of attention. I can guarantee the older person is going to get very frustrated and they're going to need just some peace and quiet. That's literally the case with adding another puppy to the family. You have to remember the maturity of your older dog compared to the lack of maturity of your puppy. And puppies are like toddlers with teeth and legs that can run around, and they can be very annoying for other dogs. And if your older dog hasn't had all that much experience with young puppies, they can definitely get very irritated over this. And that's why it's really important that we are supervising these interactions. We are making sure that we let the puppy come and interact with the older dog when the puppy is calm and relaxed, not when the puppy is full of hyper energy, zoomies, biting, jumping. That's a horrible time to put them with an older dog. Don't do that to your dog. Your older dog is not going to like that. Instead, when the younger puppy is nice and relaxed, sleepy, lying on the ground, calmly playing with a little toy, that's a good time to have the older dog come into the area. And what we're going to ensure then is that we're going to limit all of those instances where the young puppy is jumping on the ears, biting the older dog. For those early interactions, we want to make sure, again, it can be really beneficial to have two people in those interactions so that one person can be with the puppy, one person can be with the older dog, and so that way both dogs are getting attention. It's also a really good idea to make sure that we are feeding the dog separately and we are not leaving any high value toys or beds or treats on the ground at first, because if your older dog loves this, if your older dog has some certain toys that they really love, or a certain bed they really love, or something they really, really highly value, if you don't move those away, and then the puppy goes to play with those toys or eat those treats or whatever the case, that can cause some tension, and it can absolutely cause some resource guarding. And resource guarding is when dogs will growl, bark, bite over resources they really highly value if they feel it's being threatened. So if a puppy comes to steal something from the older dog will bite the puppy or bite at the puppy in the air. So really important to make sure that we are keeping in mind what your older dog loves and making sure that it stays in your older dog's little area of the house and not where the puppy is. It's also a really good idea, if you aren't familiar with the body language of dogs, to really brush up on your body language facts. So print out a few diagrams of all the different body languages that dogs and puppies display and really start to learn them. Because if you are not able to pinpoint the second one of the dogs starts to get irritated or annoyed, what's going to happen is the interaction will continue. The dog will get more irritated, more annoyed, and then the dog is going to bite. Then the dog is going to growl. Then the dog is going to bark. So you, as the owner, have to be very aware of the body language of both the older dog and the puppy so that you can monitor them both. And the second you see either one start to get annoyed, time out, let's give them both their own space. So it's really important that we are brushing up on the body language for dogs before we bring a new puppy home. When we do have the puppy home and we have the older dog there, treats are your best friend, but we want to make sure it's in an environment that is very calm and positive, and one where both dogs can feel like they are getting the same amount of treats. So again, this is when two people can be really beneficial. You can both have, some treats in your hand, and as the dogs just sort of relax in each other's presence, we can reinforce this and we can give them treats to say, this is good, this is what we want to see, this is great. And that way both dogs get little bursts of feel good emotions, they get happy, and then this is going to help create a really nice bond between them. Now, overall, when we bring a new puppy into the family and we also have an older dog, one thing we have to make sure we understand is it's going to take some time. We see all over the internet these videos of a family bringing a new puppy home and the older dog just immediately loving the new puppy, absolutely being so excited by it, and them getting along like best friends straight away. But this is definitely not always the case. And again, it comes back to the personality traits of the puppy and the older dog. So really important to just be patient, be flexible, make sure you understand that it can take weeks or months for the bonds to really grow between the puppy and the older dog. The only thing you can do as the family is make sure that both dogs have their routines, both dogs have all of their needs met, both dogs get one-on-one attention from both of you, and both dogs feel very calm and relaxed in the home. If one dog is feeling really anxious and stressed because of the other one's presence, we need to implement more boundaries in place to make sure the older dog or the younger dog gets to have some peace and quiet and actually gets to relax. I don't know about you, but if I live in a constant state of stress and anxiety, my mood is not good, and I'm much more quickly to get frustrated and irritated. So we need to make sure that both the puppy and the older dog are not living in a state of stress or frustration. We need to make sure they are relaxing and they're feeling very happy and content. The good thing about dogs is they are pack animals by nature, and so there really is very few times where a dog is not going to like the company of another dog. If they're not used to it, it absolutely can take some time for them to adjust. But I would say 9 times out of 10, your older dog is going to love the company of the new puppy. But the more that we can be in charge of it, the more that we can control the interactions to make sure that the older dog isn't getting their ears bitten or their tails pulled on, that is going to help create that bond, and it's going to help the transition go smoother and happen a lot faster. So that's a bit of a rundown, a very brief rundown of what it's like to introduce a second dog into the family. I really hope this is helpful, giving you some things to think about. if this is the case and you are looking to add a new Cavoodle puppy into the family and you have an existing dog, one of the things that's going to be most beneficial to you is to be able to check in with a trainer each week and to ask any questions so that you can work with them to ensure that, if something is going wrong and you're going, oh my gosh, the older dog is not adjusting, the older dog is growling, oh my God, the older dog is suddenly having accidents in their house and this does not happen, what is going on? That's when it's really good to be able to speak to the trainer and just say, hey, this is the situation. Do you have some tips? And this is something that I have included in my Cavoodle Puppy Planner program. So this program here, it is suitable for everyone, even if you've already raised a puppy, because introducing a second dog to the family is a whole other ball game. That's not the right saying. Anyway, you're going to know what I mean. It's a whole other thing. And what we need to really make sure is we are adjusting schedules and we are adjusting routines to make sure both needs of the dogs are met. And with my Cavoodle Puppy Planner program, for 4 weeks, those first 4 weeks that you have the new puppy in the house, you can join me in weekly Q&A calls to ask me any questions at all about the behavior of the new puppy or the behavior of the older dog. Either or, I'm happy to speak about both. I have introduced puppies to the family many times with my older existing cavoodles, so I'm very used to it. And so in my Cavoodle Puppy Planner program, I will help you make sure that the transition into the family is very seamless, smooth, and we make sure that a really nice, loving bond is created between the older dog and the younger puppy. So if you're getting a Cavoodle puppy and you want to get them onto the right routine, but you also want to make sure that the older dog is also getting all of their needs met, and you just want that sort of hand-holding reassurance from a trainer that you're doing the right things, click the link in the show notes. You can join the program. I would love to see you there, and I will help you integrate your puppy into the family over the first month if you have an older dog in the family as well. So hopefully I'll see some of you in the program, and hopefully this whole episode has been really beneficial. You found it really helpful, and that's it for this episode. I will check in next week with a new episode. I look forward to it. I always love doing my weekly podcast episodes. So I will see you then. This has been your Cavoodle coach, Tiana Karamayas. I'll see you later. Bye.